That one market can actually just hold the whole market down, and we got to make sure it does a proper break and retest. Hey guys, it's Will. Welcome to the channel. I'm a part-time day trader trying to become a full-time. Today is March 17th, Monday. Did not take any trades. It is still kind of early. It is just before 11 o'clock, as you see down here. It's 10:57, but we did not take any trades. We are in the range today. I was really tempted to take a trade, and I'll show you guys why. But this is also another confirmation that you shouldn't take a trade, and why one market can actually play a huge role of just rejecting the whole market or making a market strong. First, I'm gonna look at the ES because this is why the market is not moving up. It's only a 20-point range right here. The contracts is a little different. It hasn't changed yet. It's gonna move tomorrow, but the contracts is going to be the same as usual, March, and then tomorrow will be June. But that's not really a big deal. The levels are still the same. It doesn't really matter because I trade on the SPY and the QQQ. But we can see that we are in a 20-point range and it's not really moving anywhere. If you shorted the highs over here, you would have got down to the demand, and the same thing happened again in 30 minutes. Supply, demand, the same thing. And you might think that it might break down lower. You try to short it, but then it gets bought back up and then you lose. When you're up here, you're thinking that it's gonna break, but then it doesn't break and you lose money again. You try it again and you think it's strong. This time it's gonna break out, but then you lose again. I was literally about to do that. I was about to lose multiple times. Who really knows if I would take that many trades? But I knew that I didn't want to get chopped up on it. And I was very tempted to take a lot of trades. I did record a couple times because I thought I was gonna take a trade, but I kept saying I don't really want to take it. I'm not really feeling confident in the trade, so why am I going to take it? And I have to make sure that the ES breaks above, then I would think about longing. And I do have an alert here if it breaks down, and I could short it, but we'll see. Now looking at the 30-minute chart, we can see that this is the zone that we're in. This is the 56.70 to the 55.10, which is like the past week or so. This is all I'm going to look at. Obviously, I'm going to look at the bigger picture. I'm going to zoom out more, and I can look at other things, but we are in that channel right now, and we haven't broken it since then. So that's why I'm going to go to the 30-minute. We haven't broken that. We can see that there's rejections here. This is, I believe, Friday. It is Friday, March 7th. That is about 2 weeks ago, but that is the low on the Friday. And we see the next day on the Monday that we did reject there. And then we rejected again on that same level. And now today we rejected again at the 56.70. Coming into any day, when we get to that level, we know that it's going to be a huge level. And if we do long it, we should definitely get out by then. We should respect that zone and get out. That's why it is a key level. Of course, the other levels that I marked out are important, but we know that this is the main zone. This is the main key level that it hasn't broken out since then. So we can't just long it and believe that it'll break. We got to make sure it actually breaks and gives us a retest. I also have the 56.50 zone on the ES because it was the last week's, which was the Friday high. And we can see rejections here, rejections here, rejections here, and rejections in there. So that is a zone. If it breaks above, I can wait for a retest long, or if it breaks back down, I can wait for a retest short. And now I'm going to go to the 2-minute chart and show you guys. We see that it rejects the 56.50 in pre-market, and then when the market opened, it broke back above, but we did not really get a retest to long it, and it just went straight up to the 56.70, and we can just see that it's just rejecting. But I do look at the other markets too. I'm going to go to the SPY and show you guys what I was looking at. You can see the SPY is a little different. I'm gonna go to the 30-minute chart. The SPY level, the big rejection was the 565. We can see that it's rejecting there. And since then, we haven't reached it other than today. We see the 564, it rejected on Friday. That was the high. And going into the 2-minute chart, we see the 564 reject right at the Friday high right there. And then again, pre-market, it rejected right there. So I was looking for a break and retest above that. But the range is pretty close. The range is pretty close to the 565.50. And that's like probably like a 1-point range, 150 range that I don't really want to long into. Even though we did break this, we did not really get a retest for a long entry. And like I said, I do look at all the markets. So I am going to go to the 4 charts now because this is what I look for. I look at 4 charts. I look at the QQQ. I look at the SPY. I look at the NASDAQ, and I look at the futures. So I do want to make sure that they all align together. In my last couple of videos, I was shorting when there was 2 demand zones, which was the SPY and the ES. But today, there was 3 markets that was holding and 1 market that was failing. The ES was not above the level that I wanted to. We see on the Qs, it went above the supply zone, the SPY above, the NASDAQ above, but the ES has not gotten above. A lot of times I was sticking to long it. Right when I see this retest right here, I saw this retest, but the ES was never above the supply rejection. So I was thinking of long it, but it didn't make sense for me. So that's why I didn't long it. If I did long it, I would have lost because ES kept rejecting the whole day. Right now we're looking at the QQQ, and my chart was the 480.50, but I also added the 481.50. It's because the high of the pre-market was 481.50, and that's why I also left that as a supply zone right there. If we go out to the previous day, we see that the high of yesterday or Friday last week was 480.50. But if I zoom out 30 minutes, we also see that the 481.50 is that rejection right there. It's not really that clear because this wick shows 480.50, but this one goes to 481.50. That's why I have it as a zone. And this 481.50 aligns with the NASDAQ. If I go to the NASDAQ, it aligns with this big rejection of this low right here. So that's why I look at all the markets, I make sure they all align together. It's kind of difficult to trade in this position is because the high of the QQQ was 481.50, and if I just had my level at 480.50, that's my alert of the SPY. Could short it, but I gotta wait a little longer, wait for more confirmation. The previous highest on the Qs last week Friday was 480.50, but the high now on the pre-market is 481.50. If I just delete this and I move it down here, I could long it, right? If I change this to green, I could long it, but then it doesn't really make any sense, even though it is holding a lot of the times. But it's really hard for me to trust if this doesn't align with the NASDAQ. This is going up, but the NASDAQ is rejecting. We're still under the supply zone, so it's hard for me to long it. And also the ES is under supply zones. That's why I left it as 481.50. We can see general holds. I'm just leaving it there because it was the Friday high and it could become a support. Now I'm going to show you guys the live recordings that I did today. Even though I didn't take a trade, I was thinking of taking a trade, but I didn't. I waited for the break of the 481.50, and then now we're getting a retest. I was thinking of taking a trade here. It was coming to a retest. I did invert my chart. It's because I think I do better on the downside and shorting the market, so that's why I inverted my scale to see maybe it can help me a little to understand the break and retest better. But I knew that I had to wait a little longer because the risk is over 50 cents, is a bit too much, and the ES is still rejecting, so that's why I was trying to wait a little tiny bit longer to make sure it was actually a good retest. And the SPY is kind of just going up, so it doesn't give you a proper retest, and I'm making sure if it gives me a good retest, I can take the long. But in the back of my head, the ES keeps telling me not to long it. It's because it could be a strong rejection. This QQQ and the NASDAQ looks like it's sliding slowly to retest, and it could be a great long, but as we can see, the market is just going lower and the ES is just too weak. This supply direction is just too strong, and I just didn't take the play. My next recording, I was thinking I could take this long now. Maybe the 480.50 was the bounce. Maybe I had to wait for that level and I could take a long, but again, did not want to take it. It's just too aggressive. Normally this could be good. Normally this demand zone could be good, but we're in the supply rejection on the ES, so I was like, never mind, I should even take this play. Later on today, I was thinking this could be the next long. It has a flag pattern, and we're back above the demand zones. We broke back above the supply zones on the QQQ, the SPY, and the NASDAQ, and I was thinking this could be good. It broke the flag pattern, and it gave a retest, and it looks good. I should take it, right? But again, I was feeling like I keep thinking this market will break, but we're still under the ES rejection, so I just can't do it. I just keep telling myself I can't do it, and then I just don't do it. And guess what? It falls again. That's why when we look at the back of the markets, and I just could have taken it as a short position, but even then I didn't want to do it. I also did get a SPY alert when it broke down to 564, but we see that it got bought back up and I didn't short it. I told you earlier, I want to wait for more confirmation. I want to wait for more. It's because normally I want a proper break and then a slow retest and then continuation, but we can see that these breaks are not really that big. It's not even that big. It's only like 50 cents. Normally I like a dollar break or $1.50 and then a slow retest. This was a good break, but even though it's slowly retesting, it just falls back down. And also the ES was influenced me not to take the trade, and there's a lot of confirmations, right? It takes time to gain the confidence. It takes time to gain the confirmations. You can have one confirmations, but then other ones don't align. Even if it all aligns, sometimes the strategy doesn't work. That happens when you trade. So I didn't take any trades today. There's a potential trade if it breaks back below this zone here, and I'll take the trade. But today I just want to talk about the ES rejections and that we're just in the channel right here, so we can't just expect it to break or short. We gotta wait for confirmation, and that one market can actually just hold the whole market down, and we gotta make sure it does a proper break and retest to have a strong market. And what I like to say in every single one of my videos, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Keep staying disciplined, keep staying consistent, and let's just get 1% better every day, and I'll see you in the next one.